This is South Alabama Home Inspection, so welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. What we're going to discuss right now is your kitchen sink. This is a high moisture area, and usually I find problems here when I do inspections. And the primary reason why I find problems is because it's so easy to miss them. But usually a lot of people have, including myself, a lot of stuff down here underneath the kitchen sink for storage. And what happens is this blocks any visible view of potential leaks that could be going on in the back part of it, and that's primarily where a lot of leaks are going to be. So we get in a habit when we open up the kitchen cabinet to pull something out and close it back and never really take the time to look under there to see what's going on. And you can have a leak that's been going on in this area for quite some time and not even notice it for maybe weeks or even months. And so that's why usually the standards of practice tell us we don't have to move stuff, but we'll do it for the kitchen sink because it doesn't really take a whole lot to do it. And plus it's a critical area, so I do take the time to take contents out, to take a good look inside of here to see what kind of problems, if any, are under here. And so what we have is, this is the dishwasher drain coming in. This is your P-trap, and this is what keeps the smelly stuff from coming back up through your sink. This is kind of a jack-leg connection right there where they slid this pipe inside the old copper pipe and they've siliconed it, looks like. Feel underneath. And it must be holding pretty good. I've already run water through here. But there has been a leak in the back here. You can see, look, what appears to be maybe some black mold back there on the wall. Just keep digging stuff out. And what happens another way too is when you're moving this stuff, you can bump this plumbing here. And sometimes these fittings are not tight like they should be, and you'll bump them loose and not even realize you did it. And so now you have water leaking around some of these connections. Stuff just keeps pouring out. And you got a glue trap back there. Let's pull it all out where I can actually stick my hand in here too. I'll say, okay, well here we go. We got it mostly cleared out. You can see that the laminate down here is buckled. And that's from being wet for an extended period of time. And you got your shut-off valves here in the back. And I don't know if you can see it, but that's shut-off valve is pretty corroded. And this is the reason why you need to know where your shut-off valve for the house is. If you had a real bad leak coming out of your plumbing here and you were to try to turn that valve, chances are that valve's going to start leaking, and it may even leak really bad when you do it. So you always want to have a backup plan before you try to shut that valve off. In fact, you should go out to the street, pop your meter open, have your water meter key, and be ready to turn it off there in case that happens here. As part of the inspections I do, if I see valves like this, I don't test them because I know that it can very well potentially create a pretty bad leak that can't be readily fixed unless a plumber's called out. And it's not part of the inspection anyway of testing these valves. Not only that, these things are not that made that well. Most of them are pretty cheap, and so some of the newer ones are a quarter turn. Now, I probably recommend that when you do replace these, replace them with either a quarter or a half turn valve where you just have to turn it one time and it shuts the water off. So we can see here underneath here, that's probably some white mold there, mildew. This looks like they siliconed this joint right here, so it must have had a little leak there at one time. Now all this is plastic plumbing. And you can see a little hole back there in the wall. Looks like they may have tried to do something there at one time. That'd be a good little hole to actually put some boric acid in for bugs. They've got a glue trap here, which is a good thing to have. These glue traps really work good. They catch everything too. I'm a big fan of glue traps. But another way this sink can get a lot of moisture here is not so much from the plumbing here. This can be kind of sort of deceptive. You can have a lot of water down here, and you come down here and feel, you know, for leaks, which is a good thing to do, and nothing's leaking. You run the water, nothing's leaking, and you cannot figure out why it's wet down here. And one of the reasons for that, and it's actually a pretty big reason, is if this seam is not caulked all around the sink, especially on the back side, when you're doing dishes, you can actually put a lot of water up there that'll flow down from the back side of the sink and start draining down to the bottom shelf here. And so a lot of times the leaks are not coming from the plumbing, but from the oversplash from the sink above. And there's another reason why these can have a leak down here too that's not apparent. Back behind this wall, this house was plumbed in the 60s, is the shock arrestor was normally put at the kitchen sink because it was the highest appliance. And so there's this pipe that runs up the back side of this thing, and it's capped off. And so what that's designed to do is when you turn the water on, it can hit up against that to take the shock out of the line. And so what happens is, just being in there for 40, 50 years, it wears out, and then a pinhole leak will develop behind this wall here, and then the water will run down into the cabinet. And that's quite common too. So, but anyway, I just wanted to point this out. If you have corroded turn-off valves, you probably should replace them. But just note that anytime you go to messing with one of these and try to turn it off, you be ready at the water meter to make a quick emergency cutoff there. But it's also good to have secondary cutoff valves too, preferably a ball valve. That way you don't have to keep going out to the meter to turn the water off. And so you can probably do this yourself depending on your skill set, but it's actually a good thing to hire a plumber to come out and do, because you're going to have to cut the water off to your house more than 1 or 2 times, I'm sure, and probably about that many times, if not more, for emergencies. So anyway, I hope this has been somewhat informative. I'm Chuck Phillip with South Alabama Home Inspections, and thanks for tuning in to Southern Home Talk. We're constantly committed to putting up videos about all the issues that face our houses here in South Alabama. Thanks for watching.